Before you ask Allah for healing, ask yourself a difficult question. Am I willing to give up the things that made me sick? We often cry out for change while still holding tightly to the very things that keep us unwell. We ask Allah to change our circumstances, to heal our hearts, to give us peace, to bring us closer to Him. And yet we are sometimes unwilling to let go of the habits, attachments, environments, relationships, and patterns that keep pulling us away from Him. There is a beautiful image that comes to mind. Imagine a man drowning in a river. He is screaming for someone to save him. Someone reaches out a hand, but he refuses to let go of the stone he is clutching, the very stone that is dragging him beneath the water. He wants rescue, but he does not want to release what is drowning him. And sometimes that is us. We ask Allah for healing while holding on to the very things He is asking us to leave. Islam has never presented change as simply asking Allah for a better life while continuing to live exactly as we did before. Tawbah means turning back. It means leaving something behind and turning toward Allah. And that turning can hurt, because suffering, strangely enough, can become familiar. A person can become accustomed to anger, to resentment, to unhealthy attachments, to seeking validation from people, to living in disobedience, to a particular identity built around their mistakes, their wounds, or their past. It may be painful, but it is known. And sometimes the known, even when it is miserable, feels safer than the unknown. Because what happens when I actually change? Who am I without this habit? Who am I without this relationship? Who am I without this version of myself? Who am I if I drop doing the things I have always done? This is where growth becomes frightening. And Islam teaches us that we are not meant to remain the people we were yesterday. Allah calls us back to Him again and again. He gives us the door of Tawbah. He gives us opportunities to begin again. But we have to walk through that door. We cannot ask Allah to remove the consequences of a life we are still choosing. We cannot sincerely ask for closeness to Allah while deliberately holding on to what makes us further away from Him. And this is why real healing often feels like loss, because healing is not always an addition. Sometimes healing is subtraction. It is removing what should never have been there, removing the habit, removing the attachment, removing the arrogance, removing the resentment, removing the disobedience, removing the version of ourselves that we have become comfortable with, even when that version of ourselves is not pleasing to Allah. And perhaps that is why change hurts. Think about when you were a child and you experienced growing pains. Your body was changing, your bones were growing, your muscles were stretching, your body was becoming something bigger than what it had been. And it hurt. You cried. But the pain did not mean something was necessarily going wrong. Sometimes the pain was evidence that you were growing. Spiritual growth can be like that. When you begin to leave behind a life of disobedience, it can hurt. When you stop returning to the things that once gave you temporary comfort, it can hurt. When you distance yourself from something you know is wrong, even when your heart is attached to it, it can hurt. When you begin setting boundaries, changing your habits, controlling your tongue, lowering your gaze, giving up something for the sake of Allah, choosing obedience when your nafs wants something else, it can hurt. But perhaps we need to stop interpreting every discomfort that comes with growth as a sign that we should turn back. Sometimes discomfort is simply the feeling of becoming someone new, and that new person is not really someone new at all. It is the person you were always meant to become. So before you ask Allah to heal you, ask yourself, am I willing to let go? Am I willing to leave behind the things that keep me distant from Allah? Am I willing to give up the version of myself that was comfortable in disobedience? Am I willing to change even when change is painful? Because Tawbah is not simply feeling sorry for what we did. It is turning. It is movement. It is choosing Allah over the thing we have been clinging to. And perhaps the question is not simply, Ya Allah, please change my life. Perhaps we also need to ask, Ya Allah, give me the strength to release what I need to leave behind. Because sometimes the very thing we are asking Allah to save us from is the thing we refuse to let go of. And healing begins when we finally open our hand.